welcome to the Have Travel Memories YouTube show. I am your host, your questions asker, your facilitator, your guy number two, Paul Stadden. I am the guy that talks to the experts, and the experts are the ones that actually give you the information. Well, today I am joined by the expert, the excellent JoDell Haverfield of HaveTravel-Memories. They are a full-service travel agency, family-owned. Matter of fact, the agency is a family, and they have, well, I would say the best advice you could possibly get right now in terms of traveling during or planning to travel after the pandemic. And I know that I'll be taking their advice. And today we're going to be getting some great advice from JoDell. So JoDell, I know you came in with a bunch of fascinating information today, and I'm looking forward to hearing it as much as the audience is, I'm sure. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm JoDell. I am the CEO of HaveTravel-Memories, and I have some things I want to share with you today that I think will motivate you, like perhaps Paul, to want to travel. I know that this has been a really tough year, and we've had lots of cancellations. Our team has canceled so many of our trips for ourselves, for our clients, then we rebook them, then we cancel them again. This is just a very unpredictable travel year, but there's a lot of good news out there as well. Now, our purpose here is, if HaveTravel-Memories, is not to be your go-to for all the latest information and stats. For one thing, it just changes so fast. There's a lot of other people out there doing it. Our goal is to simply motivate you to still love travel if you loved it before, and to look forward to future trips and wanting to travel. We want our viewers to be inspired, and that's what our goal is. As Paul said, we are a family travel agency and a family that travels together. And I know it's kind of a silly thing to say, but it's true. A family that travels together stays together. And if you follow us in the future, you'll learn more about our personal experiences and how that strengthened our family. I'd like to start out, though. I know that this time of year marks the beginning of the Christmas holiday season and a time of Thanksgiving and celebrating our families and the birth of our Savior. But there is something very special about this year that I want to share with you. The month of November is the 400th anniversary of the sailing of the Mayflower. Now, we all know the Mayflower story and the pilgrims that came over, and that's how Thanksgiving got started. But there's a few details that I don't think many people know, and that is that there were actually two ships, not just the Mayflower. There were two ships that were set to set sail for America, but one of them suddenly became unseaworthy. So they had to take all the passengers that were on that ship and move them to the Mayflower. So they crowded the Mayflower with approximately 100 passengers, and 30 of those passengers were children. And then they added another 30 crew members for this 66-day journey to America. Now, a lot of people don't know that on board that ship, as well as the people, were sheep, goats, chickens, and dogs. So they all set sail from southern England to America, but due to design flaws, they weren't able to ever build a fire on the ship, high winds and waves, and so they couldn't cook. So they had to eat almost the same thing every single day. So you can imagine how excited they were to get to America and start planting some corn and some food. So that might be one reason why their first Thanksgiving was so amazing, and we still do it today. Now, a couple of details about that ship is the Mayflower was 95 to 110 feet in length with 3 masts, and there's some discussion about how many decks it had, 3 to 4. So I bring that up not just to remind you about the 400th anniversary, but that was one of the tours and the cruises that we had canceled this year. It was on Cunard, which is an ocean liner. And I won't go into the details, but there's a difference between a cruise ship and an ocean liner. So on Cunard, we had an amazing trip planned, a group that was in partnership with Ancestry, And we were going to sail from New York to Southampton, England, in commemoration of this 400th anniversary. And while on this sailing, which is a 7-day trip, I think you can actually do it in 4, but this was a whole 7-day trip, a lot shorter than the 66 days. But let's compare the Mayflower to Cunard's Queen Mary 2, which was the ship we were going to be on. The Queen Mary is 1,132 feet long with 12 decks, and it accommodates 2,600 passengers and another almost 1,300 crew members, not to mention the exquisite accommodations and amazing food. Quite a difference between the Mayflower and the poor people that were on the Mayflower. But as I said, Ancestry was going to be on board the Queen Mary 2, and the whole sailing was going to be lectures from them on the people who were on the Mayflower, all about them, their personal stories, and they were also going to help the passengers learn about how they can research their own ancestors. I think it's interesting to note that there are 12 generations and 35 million descendants from the Mayflower alive today. So chances are high that if you're watching this YouTube today, watching us today, you probably have an ancestor that was on the Mayflower. And I was so disappointed about not being able to go. And since we've had downtime due to the pandemic, we've done some research into ancestry and our family heritage, and we have an ancestor. We found him, and his name was John. He was in his 20s when he set sail, and he had an interesting experience while he was on board. He was swept over during a storm. When he went up on the deck to help, he was swept overboard. He must have been in amazing shape and a good swimmer because they threw a rope to him. He grabbed it, and he was hoisted back on to the Mayflower. So he landed safely at the tip of Cape Cod, and there he managed to marry, have 10 children, and he lived to his 80s. Now, I was fascinated by that. So I've learned to actually love the search of my ancestors, and I've taken advantage of that as much as I have time to during this pandemic. Now, while I absolutely love to travel, I love researching my family history, and traveling is a good way to do that. So as a family that travels together, we do that. Now, we don't just travel, and we travel a lot. We also host groups and sometimes travel with people, with our clients. And that is one of our favorite things to do as well. And that's what this cruise on the Mayflower was going to be. Now, I know that we're all kind of discouraged right now about the current condition and not being able to travel, but I thought I'd like to give you something hopeful, something to think about. We all know who Warren Buffett is. I like not only to travel, but I also love following financial information. And Warren Buffett is one of my favorites. And he made this statement, and I thought it was so good. He said, "Nothing can basically stop America." Now, keep in mind, Warren has been around the block a few times. He's in his mid-90s. He says, "We haven't really faced anything that quite resembles this problem." He's referring to the pandemic. "But we have faced tougher problems. The American miracle, the American magic has always prevailed, and it will do so again." And I thought, well, from the mouth of Warren, we're going to get back to normal. Now, if there's something that I've learned to hate, it's called the new normal. That term has driven me crazy. That, and we're all in this together. But I'm asked, what is the new normal for travel? And I have to say, the new normal for travel is future travel. So I'm hoping to motivate my viewers to want to travel in the future. Don't be afraid and don't give up. It's worth planning something that you can look forward to. And I'm encouraging people to plan your trips now. Whether you book or not, start planning. There are many, many resources out there for planning. I also want to encourage everyone to have a relationship with a travel advisor. Now, some people are going, travel advisor? What's a travel advisor? I thought you guys were travel agents. And then some people say, I thought travel agents became extinct. Well, the difference is, no, travel agents, travel advisors are very much alive and on the go. And the difference is simply that travel advisors advise, travel agents sell. As a good, educated, trained, and experienced travel advisor, we're prepared to advise our clients on exactly what the perfect trip is for them so that we can help them build memories. And I say memories don't just last a lifetime, they last forever. So my goal is to help families and anyone who travels build memories that they can pull back on. We've enjoyed during the pandemic sometimes reminiscing and even looking at old videos about some of our past trips, and that gives us motivation and encouragement as we wait for this whole thing to come to an end and we can get back to normal. But as I said, future travel is the new normal. So start researching, thinking about what you want to do, and planning. And I will also say that anticipation is a great way to get through tough times. Anticipate something that you're looking forward to. For me, I always have a trip on the horizon. So no matter what I'm going through, whether it's a surgery I've got to go through or whatever it is, I always have that trip out there on the horizon. And for me, that's exactly what I want. And if you try that, you'll find that you have something to look forward to as well. So dust off your suitcase, and you could even start packing. Now, I've always packed at the last minute, and I've always complained about packing. I remember that I had a grandmother that said, I will never complain about dirty dishes because that meant there was food to eat. Well, I've learned that I will never complain about packing again. I am excited to pack. I am so excited that my suitcases sit in my bedroom. They're still closed. They're not open and on my bed and ready to go, but I'm looking at them every single day, and that motivates me, and I cannot wait to pack again. My first trip after the pandemic, I may be well prepared in advance, which will be a first. Now, let's talk a little bit about cruises. You've all heard, and if you haven't, I'm going to tell you now, the CDC has now put out the warning that cruises are level 4. That's the highest level of warning and danger out there. Now, the airlines are a level 3, but no, cruises are a level 4. And I can tell you, I stay on top of what the cruise industry is doing. Like I said, I'm a certified cruise counselor, and cruising is my favorite way to travel. While I love land trips, I do favor cruising. So I'm going to tell you that the level 4 is not a ban. Cruising has not been banned. Some cruise lines have volunteered to postpone, but a level 4 is just a warning. But they're still moving ahead. There's ships headed for the United States, and I don't think it's too far off, but even with the vaccine, who knows exactly when we'll actually be able to sail from the United States. Keep in mind that every cruise you go on out of United States ports is considered a foreign cruise. So right now you can sail with your birth certificate because you leave from United States ports and you return to a port in the United States. So that's available with your birth certificate. I think that we may find that you're going to need a passport. It's possible that your passport will have something on it, a stamp or something that says that you have been vaccinated. It may not. Right now, even if you get vaccinated, they're saying that you have to wear masks, and then you've got to be retested. There's all kinds of information out there, but nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen. But I will say there have been some positives. Number one, of all the cruises I've been on, cruise ships are far cleaner than some of the 5-star hotels I've stayed in. That crew is constantly cleaning. The minute I leave my stateroom, somebody's in there making my bed, cleaning my bathroom for me, and it's clean. So now they've implemented all these protocols, which makes cruise ships probably safer than your own home, much less Walmart or wherever it is that we're still allowed to go, pumping gas, whatever. Cruise ships are safer than the planes. They're I think that the protocols they put in place are definitely amazing. But another thing that they've done is they've enhanced their medical facilities. That was one complaint I had about cruising, is their medical facilities were just pretty small and didn't always have or meet our needs. Now the medical facilities are large and they have more than one medical professional person on the ship. I think that's a good thing, but one of my favorite things that's come out of this pandemic is, as I understand it, the Munster drill is gone. We no longer have to go and huddle on the deck in the heat, because we often head to the warm cruises and it's hot and everybody's crammed in while they do their little presentation on how to be safe in case there's a disaster. But we still have to participate in a Munster drill, but we could do it from our stateroom. Now, they will make sure that you do it. You will do it on your TV screen, and if you don't do it, they're going to bounce you right off before that ship even sails. So you still have to do it, but at least it's a lot more convenient. So those are the 3 takeaways of what I think are the best things as far as cruising that's come out of the pandemic. Now, let's talk about airlines. Delta Airlines right now is #1. And the reason for that is because they aren't putting people in the middle seat. And quite frankly, when I heard that, I thought, oh, yes, maybe this will be permanent. I don't think it will, but right now, Delta is not putting people in their middle seat. So they are #1. And I think that's one of the major reasons. Of course, they're limiting capacity as well. But Air Canada is #2, Southwest Airlines is #3, and Alaska Airlines is #4. United Airlines is 5, and then it goes on down to Allegiant Air and American Airlines. So that's the status with the airlines. We all know what they're doing. You know, you have to wear a mask, and they're gonna make sure that you follow all their protocols, and if they don't, you might be ousted. The plane may turn around and go back, and everybody will be laughing at you or mad at you or whatever. So you've got to follow all the protocols. It's the same in the airports. My husband and I went through 8 international airports earlier this year before the pandemic really got so bad, and we haven't flown since. We do plan to fly next month, but we've had clients and friends that have flown and family members, and they all say it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Now, I wanted to just leave you with the impact on the U.S. economy that the cruise lines has. In 2019, $55.5 billion was generated. The cruise lines generated 436,000 jobs, and they paid $24.4 billion in U.S. wages. 13.7 million passengers embarked from U.S. ports. There's a lot more cruise passengers, but that's what embarked from U.S. ports. And I will say that a lot more than that were expected to go in 2020. Every year, more and more people are doing cruises because it is absolutely one of the best ways to travel and vacation, and people are really excited about it.
Well, thank you so much for that fascinating info, JoDell. I appreciate you being able to bring your expertise here. And don't forget that next week we're going to have another episode to bring you, and that one's going to be about vacation rentals. In fact, there's going to be a really cool one that Jelaine is going to be talking about here locally. And by locally, I mean if you live on the Gulf Coast, Destin, Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, that kind of area. But hey, if you don't, that's okay. You can still rent it. In fact, I recommend you do. It's really, really cool. I'm going to put links and photos in the descriptions when we get to that episode next week. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out this channel. Share the videos. Make sure that anybody who wants to see this kind of stuff and needs to see this kind of stuff sees this stuff. Until next time, thanks so much.